Hello, I'm Jeff Paur, senior writer with RealTime Fantasy Sports. Welcome to the Invitational live stream event here tonight at RealTime Fantasy Sports. I am so excited to bring it to you. I'm joined by my son, Henry. Henry, thanks so much for coming on. I always appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. I always enjoy this.
Yeah, it should be a lot of fun tonight, Henry. This is an unbelievable draft. Just the best of the best. If you're not familiar with the Invitational, Henry, this is an invitation-only event. So I'll bring it up so everybody can see what the parameters are here. The draft is going to kick off here in a few minutes, but here it is. So it's 6 leagues, 12 teams each in a league, 72 total entries, $500 to get in. So here's the catch. It's limited to 1 entry per participant. So you cannot have multiple entries like a lot of contests you do on our site and on other sites as well. So it's just 1 entry. So there's only 1 owner from each of our top players. And that's how we get these invitations out as well. These are the top players. These are guys that are ranked high on our site that do very well. So it's invitation only. It's KDS style draft order. So that means you can pick where you want to draft. You don't always get it, but you set up beforehand where you pick 1, 2, 3, whatever you want to pick. And most likely you're going to get around that. It's a $10,000 overall grand prize for the 72 total entries. And it's also league prizes as well. So you can win your league, win money that way as well. It's not just the overall prize. So it's just an unbelievable contest. It's called the Invitational. If you want to get in it next year, it's already sold out this year, unfortunately. But next year, if you get one of those invites, jump on it quick because it sells out every year. People love it. It's super popular. And we're going to give you the draft here tonight. I think it's a great tool as well for the owners out there. So you get to see how these guys are drafting. These are the top players on our site. Most of the guys that are in this draft tonight we're familiar with. They do a great job. They win a lot of leagues on our site. It's going to be an awesome draft tonight, Henry, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun to watch. And you can see the starting lineup here. You can read it to everybody out there if you want, Henry. This is what the starting lineup is for the Invitational.
Yeah, we got 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, 1 tight end. Let's say 2 flex, 1 defense, 1 kicker.
Yep. And the flex spot it's not super flex, so it's running back, receiver, tight end, and it's 20 total roster spots. So it's a deep draft. We're only going to give you an hour of the live stream. We're not going to do the entire draft, unfortunately, but we're going to have guests on throughout the draft as well. We invited every participant in this league to join us if they want to come in and talk about their draft. I know we have 1 owner already who's going to join us here in a little bit to talk about his draft once it gets started. So I'm excited about that. Hopefully we get others as well. It's always great to talk to these guys to see what they're thinking and how they think their draft's going. So that's the Invitational. We're super excited. It kicks off here in 17 seconds. Throughout the draft, we are going to have this draft board up so you can see exactly what the picks are. If you want to follow along as well, maybe you're watching on your phone and you have your computer by you, it's rtsports.com/live. So that's how you can see this draft board if you want to get on at your home and see how everybody's picking. We can go through right now, Henry. We can tell everybody the draft order. So the first spot is Noxomatic, and then we have NND, Stampede, Eagles, Adam Warlock, Bills Mafia, Anu, Banana Pancakes, GNP Invitations, Donkey, Mizzou Ra, and the Right Stuff. So that's the draft order for the Invitational. And Henry, not a surprise, it kicks off with Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah, that's no shocker there.
That's everybody's first round pick. I have seen other ones, though, in watching these drafts. You can see CeeDee Lamb go first at sometimes, even Tyreek Hill, even Breece Hall, Bijan Robinson. Some people might be scared a little bit with the McCaffrey injury, but it doesn't seem like it's going to be an issue.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like that. And I do agree with a lot of these people that go with different options here because this is a big draft. You're going to take the guys that you're going to believe in. You're the number 1 pick and you believe in maybe, let's say, Breece Hall. You take him number 1. It's your guy. You think he's going to finish as the RB1, maybe the best player in fantasy. You take him. You go with your gut on that one.
Exactly. The first 5 or so picks, it's usually pretty chalk, nothing too out of the ordinary. It just depends where the guys go. So you see Breece Hall go 3 here now to the Stampede team, and then CeeDee Lamb goes. And each pick is a minute and a half as well. So pretty quick little clock here, especially for 20 rounds. Hopefully it keeps it moving a little bit, but so far nothing too out of the ordinary. Where do you like to pick, Henry, in one of these drafts? You've done some already, but maybe these high stake ones, would you rather pick towards the front, towards the back, the middle?
I'm kind of over on the front six side of things here because you're certified to get one of these top players, such as you've seen top 5 of them go right now. I love all those 5 players: Lamb, Bijan, Brees, Hill, McCaffrey, and we'll see the probably next one go. I don't want to mention them, but there's a lot of great players getting these first 6, and you can get a good pick of the litter when you come on the way back. There's a lot of great picks still left there.
I agree. I think I do like having a top 4 pick, probably, because I think I want one of those running backs personally. I want McCaffrey, Hall, or Robinson. That's how I feel comfortable this year with those early picks. Hill and Lamb are super safe. Lamb, I guess, any concerns about him, the holdout at all?
No, I saw something about it earlier today. The Cowboys and him are both losing money off of this, so they can't get a deal done. So that seems like the Cowboys will get a deal done at some point. So I wouldn't be too worried about it. I mean, he's one of the best receivers. If not the best receiver in football, they're probably going to sign that long-term extension here soon.
Exactly. And if anybody has any comments or questions for Henry and I, or if they want to talk about the draft, you can do it on this live stream here. There's a section there on the YouTube channel. You can leave some comments, and we're happy to answer anything. Or if you have anything to say about the draft going on as well, feel free to chime in. So always throwing that out there, Henry. All right. Next pick was Amon-Ra St. Brown. Again, nothing too out of the ordinary. Quite frankly, I doubt we see any big surprises here in the first round, like any guys getting picked that we're just shocked about. And so far, it's been pretty chalk. And you see Garrett Wilson go now. The Bills Mafia guy is pretty smart, is the first comment. So I wonder if that's Bills Mafia.
Might be right there.
So? We're pretty sharp. We might have picked up on that. Oh, man. So we see Justin Jefferson now. He goes next. So again, it goes kind of receiver heavy now. There's different strategies with these drafts. You want to go receiver heavy. You'll see some teams take 3 straight receivers to start the draft. Others, the old school thinking was to take the running backs a lot earlier, but now it's more so receivers. Which strategy do you prefer, if any?
I mean, I haven't really gone the 3 receiver route yet, but I've seen a lot of teams build out pretty well along that because you can find some value running backs in that 4, 5, 6 round area. So it's not a terrible idea to stack up your receiver core, but also like kind of getting one of those elite guys you pick towards the back here, maybe. But I mean, it's up to you what you want to do here.
And I've run the numbers. We can do that here at RealTime Fantasy Sports, where we can look at the championship teams and how they've approached their draft. And both ways win. You can go running back heavy early and win it all. Go receiver heavy early, win it all. You can take a QB in the first 3 rounds and win it all. It's just a matter of how you end up stacking your team and the moves you make throughout the season. But really, any strategy can win it all. And I tell people that all the time. So if you have a strategy and you feel strongly about it, go with it. I think you don't need to listen to all the outside noise and everything going on out there. Just if you have a strategy you like to employ and you're confident with it, just go with it and stick with it. That's what I say too, is don't start changing your strategy halfway through the draft. You get yourself screwed up that way. All right, Henry, we see 2 running backs now go. Saquon Barkley, Jonathan Taylor. Jamar Chase actually went after Justin Jefferson and Garrett Wilson and Amon-Ra St. Brown. That might be the one first surprise I see.
Yeah, it seems like it, but I mean, those are 3 guys in front of them that also are going to have very good seasons. I love the Garrett Wilson pick there. I think it's a little early for him, but I mean, if he's your guy, I think he is going to be that guy this year, though. He's finally got his quarterback. He had 2 1,000+ yard seasons with Zach Wilson as his QB. Now you're going to Aaron Rodgers. That's a pretty big upgrade. And an offense, I think, is going to be a lot better this season.
ETN now goes first pick in the second round. Now, that might be the first. What's his ADP normally on here? He's down there pretty.
16.62.
16.62. So that's not too far off. But again, ADP is a tool. If you don't, like, if you're picking on the turn like that and Etienne's your second round running back and you like him a lot, you might have to go earlier than what the ADP says. And that's fine. You don't have to adhere to ADP all the time and, go strictly by that and think, oh, I'm reaching too early on this guy. Sometimes you gotta move a little earlier. Again, ADP is just a tool. We see that Isaiah Pacheco with the next pick as well. Kind of a little surprised to see these running backs going as quick as they are. We've seen 4 of the last 5 picks running backs. Pacheco usually goes after 22 is his ADP. So again, he's not going to be there available for Missouri when he picks in the 3rd round. So if he wanted Pacheco, he's going to have to get him. Then you see Marvin Harrison off the board. That's your guy.
That is my guy this year.
You're all in on him.
Yeah, I've had a couple drafts so far this year. He's been a guy that I try to target in all of them. He's the best weapon in an offense that's probably playing from a deficit most of the season. And he might be maybe the greatest wide receiver prospect we've had come out of college so far. And he's unbelievable. I think there's been not many clips of him. Everyone's high school in the Malik Neighbors, but I think Marvin Harrison's going to be that guy. I think he could definitely finish top 5 this season. I'm big on him this year.
There was a clip of him today. You showed me it. He was breaking the
Kenny Moore's ankles.
Yeah, breaking Kenny Moore's ankles. Kenny Moore was with
Indianapolis
still. I thought they were scrimmaging Detroit. My bad. Little surprise there. But again, Kenny Moore's still there. Long arm Kenny Moore. He has huge long arms, does he not?
I don't know.
I just feel like they're really long. We got a good comment on here from Darren. He says, curious to see if there will be any movement over the next few weeks with Jefferson given the QB situation. Now, I think it's a valid question. I mean, Sam Darnold, I think a lot of people thought he would start anyway, and then JJ McCarthy would take over at some point. I love the way JJ McCarthy looked in that first preseason game, so it's kind of sad for me to see him get hurt, but it's a valid concern for Jefferson, in my opinion.
Yeah, it is, but I feel like a lot of those games he played last year when he was healthy with Nick Mullins, he kind of proved to be a little quarterback proof, so I'm not too worried, especially in a Kevin O'Connell offense. We've seen what he's done in that offense as Kevin O'Connell's brought from Los Angeles. I think he's a great offensive mind. I do think he's going to find great ways to get Jefferson involved. I think Sam Darnold will be able to provide the ball. He had 1 or 2 drives for San Francisco, I think, last year in the Christmas game against Baltimore. I think he threw a pick eventually, but he drove it down into the red zone, I think around the 10-yard line. I'm not insanely worried. I think we kind of should have assumed that it probably would have been him just for a little bit until he eventually fell off. But if he starts playing bad, it's most likely back to Nick Mullins again, who Jefferson proved to have a good connection with late in that season last year.
Very true. Very true. I'm not too concerned about that at the moment. Like you said, I think Jefferson's one of those guys that can be a little bit QB proof a little bit. Kirk Cousins was a really good quarterback and really helped his numbers, but I still think Jefferson will get it done. I personally, I would take Chase ahead of those 3 that went before him, Amon-Ra, Wilson, and Jefferson. I would go Chase first. I like Amon-Ra. I think Amon-Ra probably has the highest floor of those guys, but I probably would go Chase. Would you go Chase ahead of those guys?
The only concern I would have with Chase is Burrow. Burrow has not seemed to be that healthy of a quarterback so far in his NFL career. The one season they made it to the Super Bowl, but the other 2 hasn't been the best of luck for Cincy, and it's kind of ruined his numbers. I think he was averaging close to 30 points a game in like a 5-week stretch last year when Burrow was healthy. So if Burrow's healthy, then by all means, Chase may finish number 1, but it's all up to that, in my opinion.
I like the Mizzou comment here. I'm assuming that's Missouri who is picking 11th. He said, I think I strained my arm reaching, but didn't really like anybody that much at 2-2. Again, we said it. If you like a running back, he's not going to be available when you pick again in the 3rd round, Missouri. So if that's your guy, I say go for it. So totally fine with that pick. I think Pacheco's going to have a big year. It always worries me a little bit with the way Andy Reid has a tendency to maybe rotate backs at times, but I think Pacheco's finally that guy.
I agree. I saw some other things that their running back room besides him, I don't know how much are really going to – it's awful. I don't even remember if they re-signed McKinnon or not. I know they have Clyde Edwards-Helaire. They signed the Reese Zammit guy, but I think Pacheco is going to be the lead back. They saw what he did last year. I think they have to go heavy with him this year. I know they added a bunch of receivers, but I think them stretching out the field may open up the running game a little more this year, so that may help.
It's true. And Pacheco can catch passes pretty well also. Let's recap some of these picks. We've been talking here and haven't talked about the recent picks. So we said Marvin Harrison went there with the 3rd pick. Then Derrick Henry, Kyron Williams, Puka Nacua, Devontae Adams, Jahmyr Gibbs. Anything stand out to you out of those picks, Henry? Gibbs fallen a little bit because of those concerns. He definitely usually goes at the end of 1st, early 2nd. in these early drafts, but he falls all the way to what pick is that? That's the eighth pick in the second round. Gibbs falls to.
Yeah, it's a little bit, and not that much of a shocker. I mean, those hamstrings, this is his second hamstring injury, and is basically for one and not even a start of the second season yet, but basically one season and training camp. He's had 2 hamstring injuries. It is a little worrisome because those things do linger throughout the season, and that he had one already before the season starts is a little worrisome. I mean, especially with them saying they're going to ramp up his workload this year, but that may die down a little bit just because they already have David Montgomery. It may die down. It goes back to a little bit of what it was last year, and then not ramp up his workload a ton more this year.
But if Gibbs ends up being what everybody thinks, Adam Warlock there from Guardians of the Galaxy, right? That's Adam Warlock.
I think it is.
So he's got Bijan and Jameer Gibbs. I love that. Love that combo if Gibbs end up being healthy. So we see now, Henry, as we get through almost the second round, we have 3 teams with 2 receivers.
And two running backs.
And 2 with 2 running backs. So again, different strategies people like to employ here, and they all work. They all can work, I should say. They don't work every time. So Drake London we see go now. Another guy we like.
Another running back one too to add to that.
Yep, Devin Achane. So again, I think this group's going a little bit different than a lot of the drafters going running back heavy here. You don't see a lot of times where we have multiple teams with 2 running backs after the first 2 picks. But Devin Achane, another guy that's kind of, I think, a little bit of a tough gauge for the fantasy community. Are you in on Achane or are you out?
I'm a little torn because of what Miami did last year. They did the thing of they signed Mostert. He had a great year, but then Achane worked his way in, got some big reps, some big games. And now this year, I feel like it's going to be a little bit of Jalen Wright may work himself into the picture a little more in this one. But if Achane does what he did last year and he gets more workload than Mostert, which I think that's the main thing, is how much of a more workload will he get than Mostert? That's the big thing, in my opinion. That's the issue, but it's all going to be based on that.
Achane, correct me if I'm wrong, but he was a top 10 back last year. I believe.
He was.
And he was averaging like 10 touches a game. And that's pretty amazing to me that he produced as well as he did with that amount of work. So even if he just bumps up just a little, it doesn't have to even be a full workload. So I think people might just be maybe too scared of him.
I think they're more scared because of some of those games that were really inflated. Like he had a 50-point game or something. Those numbers did inflate a lot of it because he didn't even play the first couple of weeks really of the season, and then he had that one big blowout game that everyone was in on him.
Yeah,
and then
it was a 3-touchdown game, if I'm not mistaken.
I think so. And then he got hurt again, didn't he?
Yep. And then we see a team go with 2 receivers after the Achane pick. Tyreek Hill, Deebo Samuel. I love that combo.
It's a good duo. We need to see if Ayuk gets traded, and that'd be a really great duo.
I'm anxious to see. I think he's got to go running back here, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know who's the best on the board at this point.
Jacobs is the best ADP.
Yeah, Jacobs is out there. So he has some choices still. So it should be.
There's 2 comments.
Should be pretty good there for Samuel this year in San Francisco, in my opinion. I think he's set up for good things. He gets those rushing numbers as well as his receiving production as well. So we have a couple comments, like you mentioned, Henry. So these are people with the I don't know if Darren's in the draft or not, but he thinks there has been really good value with Devontae Adams in the middle of the round 2.
Yes.
All he does is produce year after year. I agree. He's another guy that I think people are scared of because of the QB situation, but he gets it done.
He's proved year after year after year in the NFL. He is QB proof. He will put up numbers no matter what. I
actually think even the QB situation could be better for him this year.
I agree. It seems like O'Connell in the preseason games took a step, I feel like. He had a lot of targets. I know we're working Brock Bowers into the picture now, who I think is going to be a great weapon in that offense. So it seems like they're going to use him in a lot of different ways. But Adams, I do think you saw what Gardner Minshew did with Michael Pittman, how many targets he got, the volume, the receptions. If he ends up starting over O'Connell, which I don't know if he will, I feel like they're going to start O'Connell. But he would give him so many targets. But I think O'Connell still is a great option. He had some massive games of O'Connell last year. He had some where it was down, but I mean, he had those huge games. He make up for the next week and put up 30.
O'Connell's not a bad, from a fantasy perspective, a quarterback to have in there because he'll take some chances.
He will.
He may make some mistakes. He's probably not going to be a very good fantasy QB, but I think for the offense, I don't mind him. And even Minshew, if he's in there, we've seen what he's done in the past as well. So I think Adams is still going to have a good year, and he could definitely push that 100 reception mark. And it's good value at the end. You know, he normally goes in the middle end of the second round in most drafts. I'll take that all day. Now you see, Henry, the Stampede team goes 3 straight running backs. The team next to him went 3 straight receivers: Hill, Samuel, Metcalf, Hall, Achane, Jacobs. So for you, we obviously don't see how the teams played out yet, but what do you like better at this point?
I feel like it's a Stampede. I really like those 3 running backs. I mean, he is set at running backs, and like I said earlier, I know I said about running backs, so it's the same with receivers. You can find some great value in these middle rounds upcoming. I think he sees that, and he said he's going to load up on his running back room, and now he has 3 running backs that could have insane value. Jacobs moves to Green Bay, and it seems like they're going to throw the ball to him more this year. It seems like they're going to reduce Dylan's role. It seems like Marshawn Lloyd's not ready to go yet, so I do think that is a great impact for him. And another pick after him was one of my guys I love a lot this year, which is James Cook. James Cook was a great fantasy back right when Ken Dorsey took over, or did he get fired? I can't remember which one took over. I think he was one that fired.
He was the one that got fired. They let him go.
And then I don't know who they
went
hired.
more run heavy after.
They went a lot run heavy with Cook, and now they lose Diggs. I think they may run the ball more of Cook, so I don't feel like they're going to.
They may not have any receivers.
They may not expose Allen to the run as much now, since they see it's all what they could do with Cook last year when they opened up the run game. And I think Cook, with basically not really much to compete with, except for who they draft. It was Mark something, I think. No, Ray Davis.
Yeah, Ray Davis.
Ray Davis, sorry.
Big back. But I think the only concern with Cook is Josh Allen stealing some of the goal line work. That's the one downside, because Allen's so good around the goal line, can steal a lot of touchdowns from him. But I actually think I have Josh Jacobs ranked higher than most. I like him a lot. I don't quite understand why he's not getting more love. He moves to a great offense. I know that they like to throw the ball a little bit, but still they'll run it, and he's going to be a workhorse back. He catches the ball well. I just think he's set up for a really good season in Green Bay. And I don't know, maybe I'm higher on him than most, but I like him a lot.
Yeah, I don't blame you. It's a great offense. Green Bay is going to have probably another great season. Last year didn't look like a great season until they made the playoffs and shocked the world by beating Dallas and almost took down San Francisco. Jordan Love then got the bag this offseason, so it seemed like they're all in on that.
We've not seen a tight end pick yet, Henry. It's been all running back receivers. We can talk about the first team there took McCaffrey, Olave, and Collins, followed up the first pick with McCaffrey with 2 straight receivers. I think he's got a pretty good receiver core there, though, without going receiver first. I like Olave and Collins. I think Collins is set up for really good things. I know Stephon Diggs is there, but Collins is definitely a big play weapon there for Houston, and another guy that cashed in this offseason. Yeah, someone commented on it, and it's very intriguing. A new team, he's picking 7th. He took Wilson, Nakua, and Kupp. So he took both Rams receivers, and he has 3 receivers total. Again, you start 2 in this format.
You start 2 flex, though.
2 flex, you're right. But again, 3 straight receivers, and 2 of them with the Rams, going all in on the Rams.
I don't blame them. It seems like they're both going to be great options. I think they both had good games most of the time, I think. I know one may have had a way bigger game than the other, but the other one still had a solid game. But I feel like it's a good combo. I do think we might know what he might do later in the draft at one position.
Got an idea. He may be stacking Rams. I don't know how I feel about that, getting both those guys on my roster, though. I think you're setting yourself up.
I do worry about bye weeks in that situation, too, because you're going to lose by your wide receiver 2 and then a flex.
That's true. Yeah.
And that's your 2nd and 3rd round pick. There's a couple of receivers out there that would have gone, but if he likes Kupp, I don't blame him. Kupp he's the best fantasy receiver in football 2 years ago.
He is, and he seems like he's healthy, and he's not that old. He's been getting it done. And I mentioned the tight end. It just went off the board. Sam Laporta is the first one picked. With the first pick in the 4th round, the right stuff took A.J. Brown, Travis Etienne, then Kamara, and then Laporta. That's his start there. Mike Evans falls all the way to the 11th pick in the third round. That's a little farther than he normally goes. I know he has some
Around it.
age concerns a little bit there, but that's a pretty good solid pick for your first receiver for the Missouri team. He has Evans and Devonta Smith to go with Jonathan Taylor and Pacheco. I mean, there's different lines of thinking. I think there's some teams that are going receiver early. There's a lot of dart throw running backs out there. I feel like you can get in the 5th, 6th round. We'll see them going soon. Same thing with the receiver position. There's a lot of guys you can get a little later. It's very deep that could end up, outperforming their ADP. So I think there's different ways to approach it, and I think there's success to be had with both. I really like what the Donkey team just did there. Took Saquon. He has Marvin Harrison, DJ Moore, and Ayuk. I mean, that's a really good, solid foundation of a team there. I think Ayuk's a good value. I know he's holding out right now, but man, he could be really good once he's on the field. He has him as his wide receiver 3.
Yeah, and he could. We don't know it yet. He could be moving to Pittsburgh.
Could be.
I do worry about that situation a little more. He'll be probably the number 1 over Pickens, I would assume. I mean, they're going to give up a ton. I guess, actually, he will be the number 1. He's a great wide receiver, just a little overlooks of how many other weapons are in San Francisco. I worry about it a little bit just because they're going to be adding him to an offense where we don't even know who's playing QB yet. I would assume it would be Justin Fields. I think it should be. You go the young guy. Russell Wilson hasn't really proved much the last 2 seasons, so.
No. I really like the Michael Pittman pick in round 3. I think I'm, again, kind of like Josh Jacobs. I love Pittman this year. I just don't quite understand why he's not getting more love. He has Anthony Richardson now. That's an upgrade at quarterback, not a downgrade. I think his numbers are going to be even better this year, personally. So I think Pittman's going to have a really big year. And he has him with Chase now and Derrick Henry. And he took Trey McBride. So he's actually the second tight end off the board. Trey McBride, a little bit of surprise there. Goes ahead of Travis Kelce.
I mean, it's not a biggest surprise ever because you have to think about Travis Kelce. I know it's Travis Kelce, but last year said the Chiefs were pretty cautious with how they used him. It kind of saved them for the playoffs, it seemed like. Then they fully unleashed him because of his health, I guess, the last couple of years. He's getting up there in age.
Yep.
And now they just added Marquise Brown and Xavier Worthy into the fold for them. So I do like this Trey McBride pick. Again, like I said, if Harrison, the Cardinals are probably going to be down in most games. They're going to have to throw the ball. We saw what McBride did last year in that offense, and that was great.
Huge second half, just huge.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm okay with him going second tight end off the board. Again, if that's where you feel he is a player you're targeting, and if that's who you like, go get him. I'm fine with taking him ahead of Travis
I like
Kelce.
this most recent pick, too, of Kenneth Walker. It seems like today they kind of released some more stuff. And I said Charbonnet's banged up already. Left leg injury, I think, is what the diagnosis was. If I said that wrong. But Kenneth Walker, I think, is going to have – I think this may be finally his big, huge season. I know his rookie year was great, but I think this one could be massive. I mean, he's going to get a lot of work. I feel like Charbonnet is going to take a step back. Walker's going to take a step forward. He had a couple huge games last year. I really like him a lot this year, though.
I agree. I like that pick. I like his start to his draft. It's kind of how I would do it. After 4 rounds, I think in most leagues, I'm going to have 2 running backs, 2 receivers, and I like what that team did there, the Pancakes team. They have Jefferson, Waddle, Kyron Williams, and Kenneth Walker. I'm coming around more to Kyron Williams than I did earlier. I feel like he's got a pretty good, strong hold of that job. I know they like to rotate backs there, and they're not too loyal to them, but I think Kyron Williams has that job. Corum, I'm not too worried about him at this point.
Yeah, I'm not insanely worried. It seems like they really want to use Kyron again. Sean McVay is one of those guys that if he says he's going to use a guy, he's going to use a guy. We saw it last year when he said after Nakua's first game, he was going to keep being involved, and he was unbelievable the whole year. So I'm not too worried about that. Same with Kyron. Kyron had a huge game. They kept rolling him out every week. I am not too worried about that at all.
So what about the Swift pick next? I think he's a little bit of a wild card, a little bit. I'm kind of surprised to see him go ahead of Mixon, who just went. I think Swift has more, I don't know, I guess more questions than Mixon. Mixon's kind of the unquestioned starter there in Houston, better offense, but Swift goes ahead of him.
Yeah, what I like with Swift here is with Chicago, you have rookie quarterback Caleb Williams. I know he's a different type of rookie quarterback, it seems, but they love to dump the ball off. He's going to get
It's
some
true.
receptions, and that was his problem last year. Last year when he was in Philadelphia, when they finally took over and had a huge game, I think in Tampa, kind of kicked it off. I'm pretty sure. He was huge. He got a good O-line. He ran the ball efficiently a lot. I know a lot of touchdowns were stolen from him by Jalen Hurts. So if you could factor more touchdowns in this year with the same type of run success he had, I know he doesn't have nearly as good of an O-line as he did in Philly. I feel like it's going to be great.
Yeah, I think that Bills Mafia team has done well after taking receivers with their first 2 picks to get White and then Mixon. So those are 2 good backs. I think if you're going to go receiver early and kind of hope for some better options there at the running back spot later, I think that it worked out well for Bills Mafia here to get White and Mixon. I think that's solid. And now we see Travis Kelce go off the board. So that's 3 tight ends going around 4. Kelce goes to the Eagles team, who's picking 4th. He has CeeDee Lamb, Drake London, James Cook, and Travis Kelce. So that's a pretty solid start to his team as well. I mean, you got the number 1 overall receiver from last year on his team, then James Cook, who's the top 10 back that most think, and then a top 3 tight end. So
Yeah.
good start to the draft for him. Anxious to see how the rest of it plays out. Now we have 2 teams coming up who have all the same position on their roster right now. So Stampede has 3 running backs. See what he does here. And then is that NND?
Yes.
Yeah, NND has 3 receivers. So let's see what they do. So Stampede takes their first receiver, and it's Stephon Diggs as his number 1. Again, pretty good value there. I think that some people are a little scared with all those great options in the room there, and Diggs might not have huge numbers, but he's definitely capable. We've seen him in the past.
Yeah.
He's been unbelievable. So Stampede has a Bills logo too. Maybe he's a Diggs fan from when he played there.
I don't know if they're much of a fan now after that kind of
true.
exit, but I do think good value. I want to mention one thing. I think we are yet to see a QB go yet.
Yeah, not yet.
I don't blame him in this situation.
I think one will go soon because these people picking near the turn, you don't know what will be left if they covet a QB early. I would not be surprised if one goes here in the next 5 picks. That would be my prediction. We see another tight end go, Dalton Kincaid, and this is my guy. Absolutely love Kincaid this year. I think he's going to have a monster year. So this NND team does not have a running back yet. They have 3 receivers and a tight end. Interesting. I'm anxious to see
there goes
what happens here with their running back situation. Now we have our first QB gone. It's Patrick Mahomes.
I like
the Knox-O-Matic team takes him. Christian McCaffrey, Chris Olave, Nico Collins, and Patrick Mahomes. And after he makes this pick, I think we're going to bring him on and talk to him and see and get some.
I really like how his team's turning out right now too.
Yeah, for
McCaffrey's got the number 1 fantasy running back. Probably he's got 2 very solid wide receivers. I bet he's very happy to get Mahomes on the turn right here. He gets the quarterback of his pick here, and I'm assuming he loves Mahomes. And who doesn't?
You got the number 1 QB, the number 1 running back. I'm assuming he might go running back here as well, but who knows? A lot of teams, when they get that great anchor running back like McCaffrey, they feel like they could take some chances later on, but he goes Aaron Jones. So that's who Darren takes here. And if Darren's good with it, I think we're going to bring him on now and talk to him about his first 5 picks. He has a little bit of a wait here now. He's making some notes here, I can see, but I'll bring him up now. Darren?
Yeah.
How's it going? How you like the draft so far?
Yeah, not too bad. I was a little hesitant on that, but like you said, by the time I got back, I was going to be out on the top quarterbacks, which I like to have. So that was my chance there. Taking Holmes.
I noticed you have a Chiefs shirt on there. You big Chiefs fan?
Oh yeah, we're just down the road.
Oh, okay.
But I don't really like to pick Chiefs players just because for that reason.
I gotcha. So you didn't have any debate with the first pick, did you? Was it McCaffrey all the way, or did you have any thoughts of going a different direction there?
No, I really did have some debate with the calf thing. I mean, I'm sure he'll be fine, but he had such a great year last year. You just always get that feeling that something's going to happen. But, since he's been with the 49ers, I think he's had a lot more protection and better running lanes than he did in Carolina those last couple of years. So I didn't want to not take him and get upset about that. I'd rather take him If he gets hurt, he gets hurt. But if he has a good season, I feel good.
And you came back and you got Olave and Nico Collins with your next two picks. So you went receiver there. Were those some of your targets? They're just kind of going with the flow of the draft, or were these guys you were looking at taking beforehand?
Definitely on my top list. Metcalf was in there too. So was Neighbors. So I just, was kind of going with the flow, and I don't have Olave in any of my other drafts, and I really wanted him at least one. And Nico, I feel like a lot of targets are coming his way, even with Stephon being there. I think he showed a lot of skill last year, and I don't think that's going to stop anytime soon.
You got Aaron Jones there as your second running back. It gets tough when you're picking on the turn like that. You don't know what's going to be left. Are you happy with getting Jones as your RB2? You think he's going to have a pretty good season there in Minnesota?
No, that probably wasn't. I'm okay with it. Connor was up there. Montgomery. Shouldn't mention that stuff. Sorry.
No, that's fine.
But
it's all right.
I'm okay with it. I always think he's a tough runner. He's getting a little bit old, but based on my list, it was okay. We'll see what happens down. I got some ones I'm eyeing down the ladder here. 7, 8, 9. See if I can find a couple more running backs. But
so with this setup of this league, you get to pick your favorite draft spot. So you wanted that first pick. So what's your thought process there? You just want to get McCaffrey, or do you just like picking on the turn? What was your thought process there?
Yeah, I like the turn. I like 1, 2, 3, and 12, 11, 10. Just for whatever reason, I can't tell you, but
yeah,
I've never done this thing before where you actually get to pick your choice, and
gotcha.
So that was pretty interesting. And then my next favorite is probably right there in the middle, 5 or 6.
Mm-hmm.
I got to ask you too, have you participated in the Invitational? Did you do it last year?
Yeah, no, I think this is probably my third or fourth one. I have to look back, but I always try and do one each year, and I do typically 2 or 3 of the big TFC ones, and then I got just a few local leagues I always do through RT, but just that time of year.
You don't have to give away strategy because obviously we're in round 5 only, but what is kind of your thought process with these big contests like this? I mean, is there any things that you target, like to do, like, I don't know, swing for the fences? I mean, you just said you like to get a QB early. Is there any set strategy you have for a big contest like this?
No, not really. I try to do my best draft possible. I think in years past, I always find myself, maybe getting frustrated mid-season and not being very smart in the waiver wire. Hoping to remedy that this year, but no, just I kind of go with the flow of the draft. I like a good quarterback, but it's been proven in the past that you can go clear down and pick somebody up at the 10th round and be surprised. So I really want to focus on just targets and contacts and try and get a lot of touches.
Before I let you go, any surprises so far to you that stand out in this draft? Any picks you're surprised by, or any trends at all? Like, it was really quarterback receiver heavy, which I mean running back receiver heavy first 3 rounds with every pick, which isn't a huge surprise, but sometimes you see other picks in those spots. But anything surprise you at all so far?
A little bit this last round. I don't blame the guys. I really wanted Kelsey there, or even Kincaid, but those 4 tight ends before me, that was kind of a lot of blue on that line.
Yeah.
And one of you guys said Jamar Chase earlier, and I too, nothing against Brown or Wilson or Jefferson, but if I was in spot 5 there, I probably would have taken Jamar. Other than that, it's flowing like it probably should.
Yep. All right. Well, Darren, I really appreciate you taking time during the draft to come on here and talk to us. Really a lot of fun to get insight from a drafter that is actually in the midst of it. And so it's a lot of fun talking with you. I wish you a ton of luck the rest of the way. We'll let you get back to the draft. And again, thanks so much for coming on. Really appreciate it.
Yeah. Hey, by the way, appreciate the website. Been a member for 20 some years, and always great. Just a great website. So appreciate all you do.
Appreciate that. Good luck to you, Darren. All right. That was great, Henry. I mean, how awesome is that we got to talk to a drafter in the middle of the draft?
That's the best. They got to really focus here, especially in this big of a league, and they took time out of this to come talk to us. And he's up and he's got a little bit of draft.
Yeah, he's got a little bit of draft.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why he really picked a turn. He wanted to come on and talk with us because he had more time. Maybe. We got some other guys maybe that might come in as well a little later. So hopefully we can get them on too. Really excited to talk to anybody that wants to come in and talk about their draft. So a lot of fun. It's one of the great things about this invitational live stream. Again, if you want to get in any of these leagues, the invitational's closed, but we have all sorts of great contests going on right now at RealTime Fantasy Sports. Our fantasy championship, I believe it's over half sold out now. So it is above the pace of the past years. So if you want to get in that, I would sign up for a league. You do not have to pick your draft spot yet. So sign up for the league. Just make sure you're in. Don't lose out on a spot. Get in the TFC. It's a chance to win $500,000, so $500,000. It's an awesome contest, similar to this with a style with the draft spots, draft positions. It's not KDS style, but it's a similar style with a lineup composition, I should say. So awesome contest. We have all sorts of different contests. We have best ball championship. We have regular games too, if you just want to get in. Our All-American games are very popular, just $30 to get in those. Commission League, too, if you want to run a commission. I know Darren was talking about how he's been on our site for a long time. I feel like we have the best commissioner product out there, especially if you're in leagues that renew from year to year. It's just an awesome product. You can trade draft picks. You can set all sorts of different scoring options. It keeps track of the archives from year to year. Just a great tool to use. So if you've never used our commission service, I would highly recommend doing that. So again, get in a league, go to rtsports.com, sign up for one today if you want to start drafting some more leagues this year. So we're in the midst of this invitational live stream. Just talked to Darren, who had the first pick in the draft, about his team. Now let's recap. We've missed that whole round there now. Yeah. So Darren took Aaron Jones, and after him went Josh Allen, Mark Andrews, Jalen Hurts, Rashee Rice, Lamar Jackson, James Conner, Amari Cooper, Anthony Richardson, Zay Flowers, George Pickens, Ramondre Stevenson. I think one of the things that kind of stands out to me a little bit is Rashee Rice is definitely moving up draft boards because I think there's thought that he might not get suspended.
It doesn't seem like he will. I think if it is going to happen, I think it's going to be next season at this point. I feel like they've waited too long to say anything. It's the same with Jordan Addison. They said they're going to hold off on that too.
You never know with the NFL, but you're right. It's looking more and more like Rice might not be. And I see him moving up and up draft boards.
Also, you got to factor in Marquise Brown might not be active first couple of weeks of the season. So you're just going to be Rice again. Plus, I guess you had Xavier Worthy, but we don't know how much he's going to be involved with him being a rookie. So you have to look out for that. But Rashee Rice proved to be that guy in the playoffs and late last season.
He was really good. Yep.
I wouldn't be shocked if that's a great pick right there. So, I like how his team's full out too.
So after that, after that first QB went, we see 4 go in the that's a 5th round. So you see Allen, Hurts, Jackson, Richardson. I think Richardson is probably the riskiest, but he might have as high ceiling as anybody.
I like what
out of that group.
Yeah, I agree. I like what he did too. He paired him up with Michael Pittman.
That's
nice. He drafted Pittman earlier. He's got a great duo there, I think. I think Pittman, like you said earlier, prime for another great season. And then he had Richardson, who's gonna pass ball. We know what he loves to do: run the ball. So he's gonna run it a lot. It's another thing with these top fantasy quarterbacks. If you look at all of them, they all can run the ball pretty well. Allen, Hurts, Lamar, Richardson. Even Mahomes can run the ball a little bit. And if he can, he's gonna throw 300+ yards.
It's true.
So.
And Mahomes runs when he needs to. He had a great run in the Super Bowl, was it, this past year when he ran for the first down, or was that 2 years ago?
I think that's 2 years ago, and then you had the one against Tennessee for a touchdown late in the first half.
Either way, he can run when he needs to. So look at this next round then, Henry. We got Chris Godwin, David Montgomery, Javonte Williams, Calvin Ridley, Kyle Pitts. Pitts, another one that it's tough to gauge him. I don't. Are you in on him?
I am in on Kyle Pitts. I think the Kirk Cousins effect we're getting here. He's finally got a QB, Kyle Pitts, and the head coach that's actually going to probably use him this time around. He's not going to use Jonnu Smith in a bigger role than him. So I'm excited to see this. We saw what Kirk Cousins did with TJ Hawkinson in Minnesota. So I'm excited to see what he does with Kyle Pitts, a more versatile guy that can – he's faster. He's going to be able to play more of a receiver role even. Yeah, think about it, especially with them not having any of the receivers besides London and Darnell Mooney. They lost Rondell Moore for the season, so I see Pitts having a bigger role. I do worry about Bijan stealing a lot of pass-catching reps, but I do think Pitts is a great pick at that value too.
I think he's a boomer bust pick, and he's going to be a guy that's
kind of what he's
if
been
I'm
every
taking
year.
him, I'm going to make sure I get another tight end, not in the next round, but maybe in the next 4 rounds. Try to get, a low end number 1 or a high end number 2 tight end that I can plug in there in case Pitts has another stinker of a season. So that's the way I'm approaching him. I think he's worth the risk, especially in a contest like this. We kind of mentioned at the top of the show, take more chances. I think if you want to win big contests, I think you can't just play it safe. And again, get the guys you want. So that's my 2 big pieces of advice for a big contest like this. I think you got to swing for the fences and you have to get your guys too. So that's what I would do. Terry McLaurin, just go. That's another one. That's one of my guys this year. I feel like I have a lot of stock in him, and he gets 1,000-yard easy for me to say 1,000-yard receiving seasons every season, and he's had no QB. Now he gets Jaden Daniels.
It's Jaden Daniels and Cliff Kingsbury, I believe, is your offensive coordinator.
Yeah.
He's gonna get in the football, and after watching the one drive we got at Jaden Daniels in the preseason so far, he threw an absolute dime along the sideline. He ran it. He threw it well. I'm excited to see him play. I think my receiver went the run right before yours. I'm a big fan of Calvin Ridley this season.
Ridley?
Tennessee, Will Levis. I mean, you got the offensive coordinator that just was with Cincinnati. We saw what he did with Burrow and Chase, and they just paid big money to Ridley to be the number 1 guy, it seems like, for Will Levis. So I think he's going to incorporate a lot into the offense with Will Levis. I'm excited to see what he can do. We saw him have some big boomer bust games in Jacksonville. I think this year he may not be more boomer bust, but a very consistent wide receiver.
You got to remember too, he did not play at all last year. He didn't. I mean, 2 years ago he did not play at all. So that was his first year back, and he did not play. So it's kind of like an ACL injury. You're coming back in year 2. He wasn't hurt, but definitely a guy that I think could improve on last year, and he had a good year last year. I think somebody's ribbing you in the chat here, Henry. They're asking if you're a fan of Michael Thomas. You are not a Michael Thomas fan.
He's the worst player ever.
Henry holds some ill will against Michael Thomas because of a pick he made of him several years ago, and he was a bust, correct?
Yeah, I picked him 6th overall. It was the year after he won Offensive Player of the Year. I don't know. He had a bunch of catches, if I remember correctly. He had a great season. I picked him the year after, and it was all downhill from there.
And we see Evan Ingram go to this team that has Bijan Robinson, Jahmyr Gibbs, Malik Neighbors, T. Higgins, Rashee Rice, and Ingram. So I think that team is a team that's swinging for the fences. Like if you look at his roster, he has a couple question marks, but guys that could be huge. I think Rice fits that category, Neighbors fits that category, and Gibbs fits that category. And even Ingram a little bit, because Ingram, he was very good last year and consistent, but he hadn't really done it at that level before. But last year was like a crazy great level for Ingram. Can he do it again? I think he can.
I think he could. You just like you said, Jacksonville. We just talked about Ridley. He just left Jacksonville. It's more mouths to feed. But they did add Gabe Davis and Brian Thomas, who I will say, I hate to say it, but I'm big on him this year as well, late guy. But I think Evan Ingram could have a very, very solid year. I'm hoping Trevor Lawrence takes that leap to the next level this season. That's basically the big question for a lot of these people.
So we are seeing a lot of tight ends go early in this draft. We have, I think, 7 in the first 6 rounds. So it is not like I was on the radio last night on Sirius XM Fantasy Radio, and we were talking about that. It is not how tight end used to be. It used to be there'd be like 2 guys taken in the first 6 rounds, and then everybody would wait until round 12 and 13 and take a tight end. It is not happening anymore.
Wait, there's so much more talent at the position these couple years. Like, look at the talent we have here. We have Sam Laporta, second-year player, just had a great year. Trey McBride, I think, is a third-year player, great year. Kelsey's proved it years after year. Kincaid, we think, have a bigger role with Diggs being gone, hopefully being number one tight end. I worry about Knox. Andrews, who I think people are way too low on this year. I mean,
I think all those tight ends that have gone could get 90+ catches.
yeah.
I really do. And that's producing like a top number 2 receiver, low end number 1. So we can see how the value of the position has changed in recent years. We actually have a question for you, Henry. Who are some of your biggest sleepers this year? You got any you want to mention?
I don't want to mention them because I'm on here. We'll look down on the list. I drafted a couple.
You were not in the draft. It's okay. You can
Okay,
talk about some
fine.
players you
I
like.
love Brian Thomas a lot this year. I think
Okay.
he's going to be a great deep ball threat. He proved to be a little bit of something in that preseason game. He was a big touchdown threat at LSU. I love him a lot. I'm a big fan of Adonai Mitchell with the Colts. There's been a couple big clips of him, especially Josh Downs going down. I think he's going to be involved a lot. Let me think about running back here. I can go through my list here. I have it in front of me.
But if you can think of, I'll talk about some picks that just happened. I absolutely love. Darren just took Christian Kirk and Raheem Mostert. I love Kirk this year. I think he is in a great spot to succeed. We just talked about that offense a little bit, but Calvin Ridley's gone now. I think Kirk is a guy that could push 100 catches, and he got him as his number 3 receiver. I saw him in a draft today, an industry draft. I saw Christian Kirk go in the 4th round.
Really?
That's as high as I've seen him go, but I think it proves that the potential is there for him to have a huge season. So I think that he has some huge potential this year. Mostert's another guy. I think maybe people might be sleeping on him a little bit because they're worried about a change is stealing everything, but Mostert's still probably going to get the goal line work.
Yeah, it seems like he will, and I got my sleepers. One just went. Tony Pollard, great preseason debut with Tennessee. I feel like new scenery is really going to help him. I do worry about Tajay Spears stealing more of the third down reps and more of the receiving work. I think Pollard will get the goal line work, though. I think that's going to be the big thing part of his game, and he will get some of those first couple of first down rolls. But the big thing with him, and I know people think Spears is going to be involved in that, they didn't pay Pollard $7.5 million a year to not play a ton. I'm big on him. Two other ones, Brian Robinson. I don't think Eckler.
You don't believe in Eckler?
I'm not an Eckler believer. Injured all the time. He's just going to be in there for the receiving work. Brian Robinson, I guarantee you, he's going to get that goal line work, early down work. I still get some catches. I mean, we were low on Brian Robinson last year. He finished what? Top?
I think he was like 11th.
Yeah, top 15 area.
Yeah, he was up there.
And he had a couple of big games. And I think if he's more of a consistent back, which I think he will be in this offense with a new rookie quarterback, I do worry about Jaden Daniels stealing rushing touchdowns at work, but that's not terrible. And then Chase Brown, that's my big one this year. I think Zach Moss is not that good of a running back. And you're adding Chase Brown. Chase Brown had a couple big plays last year, and people thought he was going to be more of a bigger role, but Mixon still proved why he was there. Mixon's gone now. I think they're going to involve Chase Brown a lot more, especially in the pass receiving downs. I don't know how much early down, but I think he'll steal it from Moss later in the season, if not early.
We have a good question, I think, from Jimmy here. He said, your thoughts on tight end and flex in this format? Seems in any format it could be viable strategy. Of course, you got to get a top 7 or 8. I agree. I think in past years I would not have thought of that ever. But like we just mentioned, like all the guys that have been picked, I think they could get 90+ catches.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have a guy with 90+ catches in your flex spot, he's producing good. That's better than most, because most flex spots are going to be a number 3 receiver or a number 3 running back. So think about it. I'm okay with it. If you want to go early on 2 tight ends and play one at the flex spot, especially in a format like this that has 2 flex spots, I think it can work. I think it's a viable strategy. Again, you wouldn't have thought of that years ago, but I'm good with doing it. I've seen it happen a lot in drafts recently that I've watched here on RealTime Fantasy Sports. All right, Henry, I got to ask you, Keenan Allen, he went at the end of the 6th round. There is the reports, 230 pounds. Is that that's what they said? I mean, I don't see it.
He doesn't look like he's that much bigger. Yeah. I am not the biggest fan on him. I get that he's going to be the veteran guy in an offense with a rookie quarterback, but I still think he's going to favor DJ more like he did in the preseason game. I get that he was kind of out there the most. Besides, I know Keenan Allen didn't play a ton. But I do like Keenan Allen. Just, I don't know. I worry a little bit.
Are 1 or 2 flexes better? So I think someone's asking about format. I don't know. It depends what you want to do. I like 2 flexes if you only play 2 receivers. But if you play 3 receivers, I'd probably do 1 flex.
He's talking about this because I changed it to 1 flex.
We got people that have infiltrated the stream. So you have 3. You had 3.
No, I changed it to just 1 flex, 2 receivers, 12 person league. I thought last year it was kind of chaotic. I felt like
it depends on the size of your league. If you have 10, 12 people, I think again I kind of like 2 flex if it's 2 receivers, and especially if it's a 12 team league. 10 team league gets kind of shallow. I think if it's 10 team, I'd rather have 3 receivers in there and maybe 2 flexes there, just because the pool's a little deeper when you got 10 teams. Good questions though. I think they're good topics to bring up. Are you guys big on Cup this year? I got him for my flex this year. So Cup, I think he could be like one of those difference making picks. Like if he is the Cup of old and you got him in the 3rd round, there's a good chance you're going to win your league. But if he's the Cup of the last couple years where he can't stay healthy,
a little worrisome.
It could be a wasted pick. But the good news is you're getting him in the 3rd or 4th round instead of the first.
Still a pretty early pick.
It is.
Use.
But if it's a first round pick, the risk reward, I'm fine with it. I mean, the reports are good. We know he has a great rapport with Matthew Stafford. I know Nakua was really good last year, especially when Cup was injured. But Cup still got plenty of chances. All right, Henry, some more picks here. Anything of note you see? Jonathan Brooks goes in the 7th round. Again, he's going as the 3rd running back here. I think I like taking a chance on him. If you got 2 good backs on your roster already, this could be a guy that could be huge down the stretch.
I think it's a great pick. He's got Bijan and Gibbs already, so he's already got those 2 elite ones. He went back. I really like his team in general right now. He's done great. He's got Evan Ingram at tight end. Brooks is RB3. 3 very solid wide receivers. Both 3 of them all have great upside. And I like a couple of the picks recently. We had a little bit of a surprise in McConkey going, I think, a lot before his ADP. But, I mean, if he's your guy, I'd go for it. I mean, he's the number 1 probably already in Los Angeles.
He's already deep at receiver, so I think you can take some chances there. So I'm good with that. I think I like McConkey a lot in Los Angeles just because of that receiver room's not very good, and I don't trust Palmer. I don't trust Quentin Johnston. I think McConkey has the most potential out of that group. But, again, he's a little bit of a risky pick, but you can do that at this point of the draft. You can take more chances, more swings at the fences. I mean, Xavier Worthy just goes. That's another guy similar, in my opinion, than McConkey.
I really like this last pick just made. I think that's great value of George Kittle at this point.
He goes. It's surprising me. I think people are just worried about the injury situation. But I definitely think that Kittle has huge upside. We've seen what he's done when he's healthy.
And it could be even more different if they ended up trading Brandon Ayuk. He probably fits into the 2nd best option in that receiving game. I think a lot of his great work came before it was really Debo and Ayuk and McCaffrey taking over. If you take one out of the fold, I think Kittle evolves into a bigger and better weapon.
Exactly. So we actually have a couple guys that are in the room here. Mizzou Ra is getting ready to pick, but he is in the stream here. And if he gets done picking with these next 2 picks, if he wants to come on, he just has to unmute his mic and then I can bring him on. I don't know if he wants to talk or not, but I'm kind of reaching out to him right now. He just took Jake Ferguson. So Mizzou Ra, if you want to come on and talk about your draft, just unmute your mic, let me know, and I will bring you on. Okay, I see you. Awesome. I'll let you make your next pick before I do that so I don't bother you while you're picking, but we'll talk about your draft real quick. So far, he has Jonathan Taylor, Isaiah Pacheco, Mike Evans, Devonta Smith, George Pickens, David Montgomery, Jake Ferguson. I actually really like that team. I think it's pretty solid.
Great build.
Yeah. 3 good receivers, all have huge upside. Pickens is a great number 3, in my opinion, especially in the situation he's in because they don't have anybody else really to catch the ball.
Except for maybe Brandon Ayuk.
That's true. We'll see if that happens.
I want it to happen.
You're just going to keep saying it till it happens, aren't you?
Yeah, it's been like this for 2 weeks. I like David Montgomery as RB3 as well. I think it's going to revert maybe more last year because I don't know how much more Gibbs will be involved because of that hamstring issue.
Yeah.
They may not involve him as much as they wanted to
early on. They say they want to have Gibbs be more the guy, but I don't believe Dan Campbell personally.
I don't believe it either, especially they said it before the issue with the hamstring, so I worry that they may revert to last year because it worked so well anyway. Why not go back to it?
All right, let's bring Mizzou Ryan here. I appreciate you joining me.
Hey, no problem. Thanks.
Yeah, that's awesome to talk with you. Like you said, we mentioned your picks here. You got Taylor, Pacheco, Evans, Smith, Pickens, Montgomery, Ferguson, and then Jackson Smith and Najigba. Are you happy with how it's played out so far? I'll ask you that right off the top.
I don't think I'm ecstatic, but I think it's from the 11th spot, I'm okay with it.
So when you're picking from the 11th spot there, obviously it's this style where you can ask where you want to pick, and so it seemed like you wanted to pick towards the end there. So was your thought process all along, I'm going to go 2 running backs right away, or what were you thinking?
I'm usually a running back guy. I normally at least get 1 in the first 2 rounds, and most of the time I'll get 2 in the first 3. I kind of got in a bad spot, kind of with the Gibbs injury. He dropped back down, and who was the other guy that a couple guys dropped that normally got picked earlier, so I didn't get the Barkleys and the guys that I normally got at the turn. You know, they got picked earlier, so that's why I really reached for Pacheco, because I do like him. And like you said, he wasn't coming back, and there was nobody there that really I had to have at that point.
So then when you come back, you get Evans, and then you got Smith and Pickens. I think that's a pretty good trio of receivers. You feeling pretty good about those guys as your top 3 there?
Yeah, I do. And you can normally get pretty good wide receivers in that 3 to 6 to 7 range. You know, there's guys that fall down. The other thing I do on these TF season and this one is I hate week 14 buys, because that's the first week of the playoffs. So, so I pass on a lot of guys that are on week 14. I took Taylor, and I bit my tongue and took him, but that's why I went ahead and got Montgomery. You know, then so that on his bye week I still got 2 decent running backs.
Mm-hmm.
Jenny.
Oh yeah, I like the Taylor pick in general. If you saw what he did in week 18, I think last year in the playoff game. Taylor had a huge game.
Yeah.
And I think if he can continue that role into this year with Richardson back, I think it could be a great offense that scores a lot.
So how about Jackson Smith-Njigba? You took him as your 4th receiver. I really like Smith-Njigba personally this year. I think he's got a lot of potential. Are you looking for big things, new offensive coordinator, maybe a new role for him, being more of that X receiver, get more catches? What's your thoughts on Smith-Njigba this year?
Yeah, I mean, all the talk out of their camp is that with their new offensive coordinator and coach, that they're gonna open it up and throw the ball more. And I don't think Tyler Lockett's going to be the Tyler Lockett that he was in the past. I think Najigba is going to at least take that role, if not exceed it. So he's kind of been all along through my drafts. He's been one of my sleepers.
I don't want to give away your strategy here too much. You don't have to divulge any names or anything, but you have not taken a QB yet. One of the few teams to do that. Was this thought going into the draft, or is it just played out this way? Is this how you normally do it? What's your?
Yeah, that's how I normally do it. I find when I go for the top 4, the Mahomes and the Hurts, those guys, that you really hurt you in other positions, and I don't think that the quarterback gap is that large. I think a number 10 quarterback is not going to hurt. It's not going to be that big a difference as a number 2 or 3 quarterback compared to the number 10 running back is going to have a bigger gap.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. And you went with Ferguson there as your number 1 tight end. I was kind of surprised that I feel like the tight ends maybe went a little quicker than they normally do, at least the number of them in the first 6 rounds. Did you go up a little sooner for tight end, or?
I did once Donkey Punch snapped me off of Kittle. Okay. I wasn't, and I actually made a bad play there. Not that it hurt me, because I wouldn't have took Stroud or Robinson, but I knew that the 12 spot wasn't going to take a tight end. So it was really, I could have waited and took him on the way back, but it didn't hurt me because I didn't want Stroud and I didn't want Robinson. So, but usually that's about as far down as I want to go on tight end as Ferguson, and I didn't want to have somebody else take him, and then I'd be looking at somebody else.
That's why I always think, I don't know if you do this, but I think tiering your rankings is a great strategy to do, just to see when you're, getting at the end of a spot where you're at a tight end or a QB, where you want to make sure you have one of that group in that elite tier. So I think that's a good strategy. I don't know if you do that, but I think it's I think it's a smart play for fantasy owners. I got to ask you, you got your Mizzou Ra? You're a Mizzou fan there?
Mizzou fan, yeah, long time Mizzou fan.
All right.
Basketball and football, so I kind of pull for him all the time.
Same here.
A big year in college this year.
He's looking at Mizzou. He may go there next year.
Awesome,
right here.
Awesome. It's a great school, great town.
Yep. All right, let me ask you one more question before I let you go. I asked Darren the same thing. Any surprises for you so far, or anything you want to mention about this draft? I know you've done a lot of them.
It was interesting. I was wondering how far Gibbs would fall, with the injury report, because normally Gibbs is the guy I might take on the turn, but I kind of like waiting and getting Montgomery, who I think could have even exceed Gibbs, possibly. But other than that, no, it's kind of been a pretty stock draft. I didn't see anybody. The guy that I don't like that goes all the time is Neighbors, and he'll go in the second, third round, and I just don't see it. And not with that team, not with that quarterback, and you got a rookie. That one's a little dangerous for me.
I hear you there. Definitely a scary pick. I appreciate you coming on though and talking with us briefly. Yeah, it's been a lot of fun, and I know it's tough to come on and talk in the middle of the draft, but I appreciate taking the time, and good luck to you the rest of the way. Really appreciate it.
Hey, thanks a lot.
All right, that was Mizzou Ra picking out of the 11th spot. Is that right? I think he's done well. When I look at these teams, it's one of my favorite teams.
I have to agree with that one. I love his receiver depth. He's got great running back depth. I like his tight end because I feel like Dallas, if he had a couple more touchdowns.
They don't have anybody else besides CeeDee Lamb.
I mean, if you consider Brandon Cooks a weapon at this point in his career, but
yeah, we also have the right stuff is in here. I don't know if he can hear me as well, but if he wants to come on, he picks at the end of the round. I can have him on quickly here. If he wants to talk to us, he just has to unmute himself. But again, if he doesn't want to, I totally understand. But if you want to come on the right stuff, be happy to talk with you. All right, Henry, we're almost done with the 8th round, and we're over an hour into the stream as well. So we're going to end this soon. But here's the right stuff. He's on here. I will bring him up here quickly so we can talk to him before he gets to his next pick. Thanks for coming on. I appreciate it.
Hey, how's it going, Jeff?
Going pretty well. So you got A.J. Brown, Etienne, Kamara, Laporta, Stevenson, Godwin, Stroud, Robinson picking at the end of the draft. So are you happy with the way it's turned out for you so far?
I was hoping for other guys that I was hoping everybody was going to drop. I thought I might have a chance at McCaffrey, but just wasn't meant to be. But no, I do a lot of these drafts, so you got to be happy with where you're at and just kind of go with the flow of the draft and take who's there and do what you think is the best move at the time. So that's what I've done. So I'm not unhappy, but obviously there are guys I would have rather had, and I was hoping would have fell to me, but didn't work out.
Yeah. So this Todd Yost, correct?
Yeah.
I want to make sure.
Yes.
Okay. So we've talked to you before. You're a great drafter here on the site, and it's always fun to talk with you. But you picked 12, so obviously you wanted that. Did you like picking there on the turn?
Honestly, the Kentucky Derby thing, man, I just left it go. I didn't even.
Oh, okay.
So I didn't really care where I'm at. I mean, I've drafted literally, every spot probably 10 times already. So, I've drafted them all. I don't really care where I'm at. Like I said, my philosophy is, I guess, which is the easiest philosophy you should have, is take the best player when it gets to you. And, build your teams the way you want to build them and live with it. You know what I mean?
For sure. So you've won big contests on our site before. So what's your kind of go-to thinking? It seems like you just kind of go with the flow and take the best players. But is there anything you specifically do that you want to share at all, that some of your strategy there to win one of these big contests like this?
No, I mean, again, I feel like, you got to look at the draft you're in and see how other guys are drafted and kind of, maybe do some adjustment while you're rolling. But, this draft, a lot of running backs went early, more than I thought would. And, like the guy before me that you were talking to said, I kind of was hoping that Barkley or Taylor were going to get down to me, but the Gibbs thing kind of threw that all out of whack. And honestly, I just don't have the faith to take Gibbs at that spot right now. I had to push him down a little bit, so I can't take him at the turn right now. So I would have liked to have taken him. I contemplated a couple other guys there, but I honestly feel like ETN and Gibbs are the same player. So, I mean, and he has less competition, ETN does, than Gibbs does with Montgomery anyway. So I would just rather have him there. I mean, there are other guys I considered, but I figured he was the best bargain. I was going to go 2 receiver, but the hamstring thing with Puka too, I just couldn't do it. I couldn't pull the trigger on him either. I pushed him down a little bit, and the leg deal. So I'm happy with the first 2. After that, gets less happy, but what are you going to do?
So I'll ask you about Laporta. So when you're picking there, you don't know what's going to be left at tight end when you pick again. You started that run a little bit. It seemed. Were you happy with taking Laporta at that point with the way it turned out? I think I would be personally.
Well, yeah, I've been listening to you guys talk, and I agree with you about the tight end thing. Honestly, I was real close to going Laporta Kelsey there. I almost did it, but because I was going to play one of them in my flex, like you guys were talking about, and I thought I got to get at least one of these guys because again, for me, Laporta is essentially having a high-end wide receiver 2, like you were saying, or a low 1. So I feel like, getting that value in the 4th round, if I'm getting a receiver I would have taken in the 2nd or 3rd in the end of the 4th or, the beginning of the 4th, I feel just as good about Laporta as any of those guys. So why not take him?
I'd like to hear your thoughts on Godwin because I'm pretty high on him, but I'd like to hear what you're thinking about him this year. You got him in the 6th round, is that right? Yeah, 6th round as your 2nd receiver. So, what's your thoughts on Godwin?
I like him a lot this year. I'm hoping he's going to be healthy. You hope that for all the guys, but he was great in the slot before when he used to play in the slot. He's going to be back in the slot this year supposedly. So I think he's going to get a lot of targets. He should have a ton of catches. I'm not sure how many yards he's going to have. I think he should go over 1,000. I would certainly hope. Because I think, honestly, he can push 90 catches and, 6-7 touchdowns as a floor, I would think. So I'll take that. You know what I mean? And he's got his ceiling is so much higher than that. He's easily a double-digit touchdown, over 100 catch guy if everything goes right and he stays healthy.
Yeah, I agree with you. Moving to the slot, it excites me for the value that he is. He gets lowered because of the lack of scores, but man, his weekly floor is going to be really high, I think, in his new role there.
I hope so.
All right, Todd. Well, you're picking again in 4 picks, so I will let you get back to the draft. But it's always great talking with you, and I appreciate you coming on. I wish you a lot of luck in this league and all your leagues here at RealTime Fantasy Sports.
Yeah, you guys too. I'll see you in our league.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Take care.
Later.
All right, great. We talked to 3 owners during the draft. I absolutely love it. These guys take the time to come on and talk with us. That was Todd Yast. I can't remember. I always interview everybody for all these contests. He won one of our big contests, and I should know. I think it was the playoff shootout, but I might be mistaken. It was a big contest though. He won a huge one on our site. He's a great owner, one of the top ranked players, but again, a great guy as well. I've had him on the show before talking. Henry, we'll get out of here now in a couple minutes here, but let's recap the last few picks here. So I talked about Smith and Najigba, then you went Corum, Eckler, Spears, Njoku, Brock Bowers, Chase Brown, Christian Watson, Jordan Love, Devin Singletary, Cortland Sutton, then Hawkinson. So he's hurt. Don't know when he's going to come back, but he's actually the first tight end taken by Darren there, who was on with us earlier. And then Zach Moss, Marquise Brown, Trey Benson, Joe Burrow, Roma Dunze, Jaden Daniels, Brian Thomas, and Gus Edwards. Any surprise picks there for you at all, Henry?
Not anything surprising. I like a couple of the picks. I love the Brian Thomas one. I like the Bowers pick. One thing I do want to mention, we saw that NND, is that what it is?
Yeah.
He went 3 straight receivers first 3 rounds, and now 6 through 9, he went 4 straight running backs. Najee, Pollard, Singletary, Moss.
Yep, for sure. So you look at these teams, Henry, who do you like so far after 9 rounds? Any team stand out to you as a favorite?
I really like Adam Warlock here. I like having the Bijan and Gibbs pair. Then he has Brooks and Brown, which is pretty solid. And then he has Neighbors, Higgins, Rice, Ingram. I love his tight end. 3 very solid wide receivers. I do worry about the flex maybe a little bit. I guess right now it's going to be probably Rice and then either Brown or Brooks. Brooks will be healthy the first 3-4 weeks. I guess he's open after that span. He'll be good, and Brown can hold on the fort. Burrow at QB is the Burrow and Higgins connection. I really like that. I think his team is very solid. I love the running back, so that's a big thing. If Gibbs stays healthy, and he is what he's last year, it's a great pick.
I think there's a lot of good teams, a lot of teams that can compete for this title. I like the Missouri team. I like the first team, Noxomatic, as well. I want to see what he does at tight end after Hawkinson. I actually think the right stuff too at the turn there. We just talked with him, and not to butter him up because he came on our show, but I think his draft is really good. I mean, it looks like something I would do, and that's why I kind of like it, because it's a lot of the guys that I'm targeting this year.
Last 2 picks.
Yeah, I think I might go with him as my favorite team right now. But again, draft's not over with yet, and still got a ways to go, and some of these teams don't even have a QB yet. We see Missouri takes his first QB. It's Dak Prescott, which is really good value in my opinion at this point of the draft. And he has Jake Ferguson too, so it's a good little combo there. So again, I think that team's really solid. I like the right stuff too. So these guys have done a great job. It's been a ton of fun talking with them as well. We had 3 of the 12 owners come on the stream and talk with us. We had a lot of people conversing with us also on the stream, which is fun as well. But you want to get in one of the leagues, again, go to rtsports.com. The Invitational is closed. You can't get in that, but you can get in our big contest. We also have our Syndicate League. I forgot to mention that, but we're doing a $10,000 draft per entry, and it's a 95% payout. It's the best in the business, but it's $10,000 to get in. And it's up on our site. It's called the Syndicate. So if you want to get in one of those, there's two of those $10,000 drafts, and there's 6 spots left in each of them. So they're close to getting filled, and it's a ton of money to win and a great payout. So if you want to get in a Syndicate League, go to rtsports.com, click on that Money League link, click on High Stakes, and you can see them mentioned in there. A great chance to win a ton of money. Again, Henry, I appreciate you coming on and talking with me during the stream. It was a lot of fun. We'll do another one of these before the season starts. We still have a couple weeks left of drafting.
Needs to go by quicker when you get the season started.
I agree. I'm ready for the season to start as well. And I'm sure all of you out there are also. And again, thanks to everybody in this draft for taking the time to talk with me and let us show everybody what you're doing, because these are the top ranked owners. Like I said, this is the Invitational. It's the best of the best. Invite only, 72 owners only, chance to win $10,000. Just an awesome, awesome format. And we do it every season and it sells out. So if you get an invite next year, sign up because it goes quick. Again, thanks to everybody out there for watching. Good luck to you on your leagues. Go to rtsports.com. Sign up for a commission league. Sign up for a money league today. All sorts of options out there. All sorts of price points as well. All right, Henry, thanks again for joining me. Really appreciate it.
No problem.
Thanks to everybody out there as well for watching the stream this week, today, I should say, and taking part in this. Appreciate it. Good luck.